Hey guys, your boy Mark back with Top Sunday. I think this is number 36. And yeah, your boy Mark Sanders. Today's March 27th, 2022. Uh, and I've done this list video before. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the second that this video goes live, that I'd already want to change my list. So be careful about that. I change my lists all the time. Especially like my most favorite things. This is certainly no exception. My top 20 favorite wrestlers of all time. My number one never changes. I'll tell you guys about that. But I love wrestling. You guys know that. And, this being Top Sunday, number 36, let me just check to see if that is indeed number 36 that we are on. Yep, Top Sunday number 36. Alright, last week we did my top 10 favorite directors as a thing. And now we're going to do my top 20 favorite wrestlers of all time. Now, I don't know what more to say. Let's get into this list, shall we? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And tell me what you think of my list and post yours in the comments below. I would love to see your list. But my number 20, I was hesitant on putting him on the list because of certain types of fans kind of ruining him for me. And especially when you kind of compare him to my number 1. My number 20 favorite wrestler of all time is Ric Flair. Now every time I see Ric Flair versus somebody, I mean, obviously he's long retired, but I get excited. Alright, I get giddy and excited. I know it's going to be a fun match, and Ric Flair was just a phenomenal technical wrestler, man. And I'll say this too. I should have said this before. I forgot. But my list is not just based on, like, wrestling ability and all that. Basically, how much I love, like, searching up about each wrestler, like maybe there's at least one wrestler on this list who's on here because of certain controversies, In fact, that's not too far from number 20, actually. It's not the next one, it's not the one after that, it's number 17. But, Ric Flair, I have a lot of issues with him and certain fanboys of his, but I'm still a big fan of his. Again, amazing technical wrestler. I don't really Google him as much as a lot of these other ones, but yeah. And my number 19 is going to be Triple H. He just recently announced his retirement. Thank you, Triple H. Just an insane career. I do have issues with Triple H. He's had so many amazing matches. Politics have me kind of rolling my eyes at him. But man, he's in my favorite SummerSlam match ever. He's been in some of my favorite matches ever. And yeah, number 19, Triple H. Number 18. This might be an oddball pick, but my number 18 is going to be Jay Lethal. I think this is the only non-WWE wrestler on this list, if I'm being honest. Jay Lethal, he's so much fun to watch, man. He's by far, out of anyone on this entire list, the one I know the least about. There's probably oceans of Jay Lethal matches I've never seen, never heard of, but every time Jay Lethal is wrestling, I get excited. That will be probably, especially since it's not WWE, other companies, I'll be excited. Just his style is badass. I just think he's a badass, amazing, fun wrestler to watch, and he's really cool. I really love Jay Lethal, And my number 17 is Chris Benoit. He's mostly on this list just because, even though it was a horrible, tragic incident, like the whole murder-suicide thing, it's just such an endlessly fascinating, subject for me to search up about. I just, in all honesty, I don't think I would even care remotely about Chris Benoit as much as I do if that horrible tragedy had never happened. I'm being completely real. I had no idea this happened until I was at my grandparents' house around the time I created this very YouTube account way back in 2010. I remember hearing rest in peace Chris Benoit, and I knew Chris Benoit from SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. And then I heard about the murder-suicide stuff, and I was like, what the heck? And it's still extremely, endlessly fascinating to this day. Again, I do have, even with that, that impressionable, tragedy, taboo stuff in mind, just like Ric Flair, I have issues with, the way fanboys go on about him, saying, in denial stuff like, oh, he was murdered and other dumb stuff like that. But, he was an awesome wrestler too. He was very crisp and stiff, and, he just had some fun matches. He was always excellent in the ring and all that. So, yeah. Yeah. Now, my number 16 favorite wrestler of all time is Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior. He was, I believe, my mom's favorite wrestler. So, and the fact that he passed away just kind of hurts, makes me feel a bit sad, especially since he was my mom's favorite wrestler. That's not why he's on this list, though. Again, just like Chris Benoit, I just get fascinated searching up about him. Hearing about stories about him holding Vince McMahon up for ransom and all that from SummerSlam 91. And honestly, people give a lot of the big ass, muscular truck guys, brute guys, crap, saying they weren't good wrestlers. I completely disagree. I thought Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, and all that, I thought they were all awesome wrestlers and just crazy fun to watch. And I love Ultimate Warrior. Yeah, nothing's gonna change my mind about that. Now, my 15th favorite wrestler of all time is going to be Roman Reigns. Yep, the current WWE Universal Champion. But I love the big dog Roman Reigns the most, honestly. Even I had issues too. Even I was at one point sick of him being in the main event every single day, every single pay-per-view, especially WrestleMania. I was tired of that too, and I still am a little bit. Even though he'll be main eventing this year's WrestleMania and probably next year's too, I've kind of accepted it. I don't know if accept is the right word. Anyway, we're trying to praise these wrestlers, so I love Roman Reigns. All right, if you put him in a match against anyone, I just think it's going to be tons of fun. And I don't believe in carry jobs, by the way. So I always thought Roman was an awesome wrestler, and just awesome at counters. He was huge, and easily one of the most important wrestlers that I've been reviewing ever since I started reviewing stuff on YouTube. WWE wrestling events. Because it was back in 2015 actually that I really started to that I really started to like review wrestling all the time. You know, it's a decision that I made on a whim that I am so happy I did, by the way. And he was one of the most important things. This isn't scripted at all, by the way. I'm just saying whatever comes to the top of my head, and maybe stuff that isn't as good as I would like it to be. I love Roman Reigns. I always have, even when I every now and then talk trash and got tired of him. This is meant to be praising, alright? And number 14 would have been a lot higher, like a handful of years ago. He's just not the same to me anymore, but I still love him. He's still my man. My 14th favorite wrestler, I'm gonna go with Seth freaking Rollins. Seth is just so consistent, man. I remember when he was Tyler Black, and then it came to WWE. I definitely was not expecting him to be. Then again, I think I'm terrible at predicting for the most part. You know, who the heck knows? You never know, you know. But I don't think I ever would have thought he'd be as big of a star as he did become, Seth Rollins, and just basically ever since his debut, but especially ever since that triple threat, my favorite triple threat match of all time, Brock Lesnar and John Cena, and of course Seth Rollins. Ever since then, you just knew he was one of the guys, you know, and just, man, I just grow. He's done everything that I wanted him to accomplish too. Like, he's literally done everything I ever wanted him to accomplish, except maybe main event WrestleMania, but even then I can kind of live without that. Which is probably why he's not the same to me anymore. You know, if that makes any sense, but he's still my man. I love Seth Rollins, and see, like, when I say that he's done everything I've wanted him to do, I mean WWE champion, Intercontinental champion, Royal Rumble winner, Universal champion. He's done it all. Everything I ever wanted him to do. Like 5 years ago, if you asked me who my favorite current wrestler was, who appears every week, I said without hesitation Seth Rollins. You know, I don't feel anywhere near as big on that as I did back then. I wish I still did. I wish it still felt the same. And maybe that feeling isn't completely gone. You know what I mean? Maybe it never will be. You know? But, yeah, I love Seth Rollins. And, I'm excited to see what he does at WrestleMania and all that. Alright. Number 13, I'm going with Batista. Just one of the defining wrestlers of the Ruthless Aggression era, which is my favorite era of wrestling. And funny enough, even though I got him on my top 20 favorite wrestlers list, I still think I love him even more as an actor than I do him as a wrestler. And just Batista, I've just amazing memories of Batista. I remember when I first saw Batista, when I first played a WWE game, which was actually the day I became a wrestling fan in general. And I didn't know most of the wrestlers at the time, of course. And then I came across this Batista guy. I didn't click on him, but I was like, oh, that guy's muscular as, and that's cool. And he was always a fun wrestler to watch. You know, and like I said, probably the fact that he is, you know, like one of the top guys of the Ruthless Aggression era, that's probably why I love him so much. You know, just absolutely love Batista. Very little, if any, negatives to say about him. And yeah, my 12th favorite wrestler of all time, uh, Kurt Angle. Again, one of the defining wrestlers of the Ruthless Aggression era. And believe it or not, I've hardly watched anything he did in TNA. And so many people say that his TNA career was way better than his WWE career. I'm seriously missing out. He was in like a match that for the longest time was my favorite match of all time, that being his match against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. I love that match so much. Like that match is just chef's kiss, man. That's what that match is. And just I love Kurt Angle. He was fun too. He was a fun wrestler to just watch, man. Just in terms of skits, not just in terms of wrestling. He was an amazing wrestler. But yeah, and he should have retired against John Cena. No disrespect to Baron Corbin. I am a Baron Corbin fan, and maybe even he might agree with this. I'm not putting words in his mouth, But who knows? But number 12, Kurt Angle. Absolutely love him. I don't even know if I had him on my list last time. I feel like this list is way different than the last time I did this back in 2018. But yeah, number 11, Chris Jericho. Now, Chris Jericho, I remember back when I first started becoming a wrestling fan, and I heard of Chris Jericho, I was like, man, I don't like this guy at all. He sucks, man. That's what I thought when I first saw Chris Jericho. Probably because he was a bad guy too, and I hated heels. I hated bad guys in wrestling. I was all about the good guys. I still am all about the good guys. To this day. To this day. To this day. Chris Jericho, I remember a friend of mine at school saying he likes Chris Jericho or something like that, and I was like, Chris Jericho sucks, and then he just cracked up laughing. And I think he said something too. I don't remember what it was. This was 2009. This was 13 years ago. But regardless of why I said that back then, I think he was joking about being a Chris Jericho fan back then, but still, it was totally fine if he did, of course. Even though if I didn't know that at the time. Man, my uncle Poppy told me about, I think he saw Chris Jericho on TV, and he was like, oh, Chris Jericho, I know him, and he was really cool, and him saying that we decided to watch it, we randomly decided to watch an episode of SmackDown together, back in 2010, and then he mentioned Chris Jericho, and the butterfly effect again, that set up a chain of events that led me eventually, a year later, buying the Chris Jericho Breaking the Code DVD. And I took that DVD home and wore that son of a gun out. I still have it, but I've watched it so many times. I have amazing memories with that DVD. Just endless amazing matches, and I was like, holy shit, you're right about Chris Jericho. And that Chris Jericho DVD was literally my second ever compilation DVD. I'm not even joking. This was back in 2011. Yeah, Chris Jericho. I think he's a wrestler you can always rely on to have awesome matches. Honestly, with Chris Jericho, we need an awesome match tonight, and Chris Jericho would be like, yeah, no problemo, just give me a bit of the bubbly. And he's in AEW now. I'm very happy for him thriving there. And it was so cool when he appeared on the Stone Cold podcast or whatever. Even though he was still with AEW. That was so awesome. But, yeah, 11, Chris Jericho. At one point, he was my second favorite wrestler ever. A decade ago, Chris Jericho was my second favorite wrestler ever. He's like just so reliable and just an amazing talker too. I didn't even get around to that. All right, now my number 10. I'm pretty sure he's on this because of my childhood, but my 10th favorite wrestler ever. And I actually went like back and forth with this between this is so neck and neck with Chris Jericho, but my 10th favorite wrestler ever is CM Punk. Now CM Punk, man, for the longest time we didn't think he would ever come back to wrestling, and then he came to AEW last year. I feel like I'm already taking that for granted. I really do. You know, I mean, I only watch the pay-per-views for AEW only because we don't get AEW here. You know, I have to stream it, you know, on websites and all that. But man, CM Punk, man, he really like lit the wrestling world on fire back in 2011. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like I still don't fully understand what he was talking about in that promo, that famous pipe bomb promo. But CM Punk, his rivalry with John Cena especially, like his match for the longest time against John Cena. I know I've said that quite a few times in this video. At Money in the Bank 2011, for the longest time, that was my favorite match of all time. And I'll probably will bring this up again in a future video, like my favorite matches of all time or something. But the reason that John Cena versus CM Punk from Money in the Bank 2011, even though it was my favorite match ever for the longest time, it's not my favorite match of all time anymore. And two big reasons for that. The smart crowd booing Cena, and Cena didn't win. Alright, that's why it's no longer my favorite match of all time. But I don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore that match with all my heart. And CM Punk also had amazing rivalries in ROH and Rey Mysterio and Jeff Hardy. He was just another phenomenal wrestler. I don't know what else to say about him. At one point, he was my second favorite wrestler of all time, because I wanted to have like my two favorite wrestlers ever be in my favorite match ever. But yeah. Well, we're already in the top 10. I should have mentioned that when I got to CM Punk. But my 9th favorite wrestler ever. You might be surprised by this, but number 9, I'm going with Brock Lesnar. Now, Brock Lesnar is just one of the most unique wrestlers ever. I mean, it was so weird. Like, I'd never even heard of Brock Lesnar until 2011. Like, I started becoming a wrestling fan in 2009, of course. And then I didn't get broadband until 2011. And then I just become obsessed with wrestling, and then I was looking through like WWE history, and I heard about this guy named Brock Lesnar. He main evented WrestleMania, won the WWE Championship twice, won the Royal Rumble, and I was like, how the heck have I never heard of this guy? And he was phenomenal in his first run, but honestly, I love the UFC. Not in UFC, but I love the Suplex City current day version of Brock even better than his 2002 counterpart, honestly. There's an atmosphere to his matches, man. You can't deny it. There's a certain atmosphere to his matches, and his matches, he doesn't always. I do have issues with him too, but doesn't always, I forgot what I was going on about, but I love Brock to death. I'm kind of over him at the same time now. Kind of like Triple H. I don't think I mentioned it with Triple H. I'm more than ready for him to just retire, honestly. After his match with Roman Reigns, which he'll lose at WrestleMania 38. Retire, man. You gave us the dream match of Bobby Lashley, but there's nothing more to do for him. Alright. I say that with love and respect. I love Brock Lesnar. He's been in some of my favorite matches ever. And, yeah. And my 8th favorite wrestler of all time, The Rock. Now, The Rock is the reason I got into wrestling. Not for my love of movies that I already had. I wouldn't be a wrestling fan, because I remember the day I became a wrestling fan, when I played SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, I came across The Rock. I was like, oh my gosh, I know that guy. And then I called my mom. I think I've told the story before. I'll try to, like, crash course it through this video, though. I was like, Mom, do you know who The Rock is? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, is he a wrestler or was he a wrestler? And she said was. He did come back for a little bit after that, though, which was just amazing. But, yeah, The Rock, The Rock was my first, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. The DVD, that was my first wrestling DVD ever. And, after getting that DVD, I was like, you know what? The Rock is all I need. I don't need any other wrestling DVD. Little did I know, bruh, there's a whole ocean of wrestling DVDs. Other wrestling DVDs. And that DVD was still awesome, but, still, the impact The Rock had on me when I was like, oh my gosh, I know him, he's an actor. And that was phenomenal. And I have The Rock to thank for, along with other things, my cousins, for me becoming a wrestling fan. I wouldn't be talking to you guys in this video if not for The Rock. Seriously. Number 7. AJ Styles. I knew about AJ Styles. I heard he was like TNA's number 1 guy. I barely knew TNA, to be honest. I've barely watched any TNA wrestling, if I'm being completely real. But I knew about AJ Styles. I knew he was like considered like the best TNA guy ever. But I really never got into AJ Styles until he came to WWE. Honestly, I'm being real there. And wow, it's already been 6 years since AJ Styles debuted in WWE, and time flies, doesn't it? And man, AJ Styles, especially since he's now in my favorite match of all time, him against John Cena at Royal Rumble 2017. Just another reliable wrestler. He has amazing wrestlers all the time. He's pretty much the modern day Shawn Michaels. Like AJ Styles is. But yeah, I love AJ Styles so much. And number 6, I'm going with Edge. Now, Edge is one of the biggest parts of my childhood as a wrestling fan. Like another huge part of the Ruthless Aggression era, man. Like, he looked amazing. Even though he was a bad guy, he was just so insanely charismatic. He just had fun-ass matches all the time. And just, he's a wrestler that encapsulated the Ruthless Aggression era, man. And I've just amazing memories watching him wrestle and all that. And I was so shocked when he initially retired, who the heck would have thought he would have come back a decade later? And Edge, I just love with all my heart, and the fact that he came back like CM Punk did, and he's giving us matches to this day. Like, wow, just wow, man. But yeah, and that brings us to our top 5 now. My top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. And you might be surprised by my number 5, actually. So my 5th favorite wrestler of all time is the Hulkster himself, Hulk Hogan. I don't remember I think he was at least an honorable mention on my 2018 list. But Hulk Hogan, man, he was the John Cena of his time. Alright. People thought he was a terrible wrestler. I 100% disagree. I love watching him wrestle. And just him being the guy, I don't know what it is. I love Hulk Hogan. Right? I don't care what crap anyone says he did or whatever. I still love him. And I'm a massive fan. There's something about him, man, that's just amazing. Like, and I'm extremely tired right now. That might be why I'm not getting out as many good words as I would like for this video. But I hope you're enjoying it. If not, then you can be honest with me. Maybe you can give me some advice on what to do in future videos, even when I am tired as heck. I adore Hulk Hogan, and I hope he stays with us for a long time. Of course, he is long retired, but you know what I mean. Hopefully. Now, my 4th favorite wrestler of all time, The Undertaker. Just one of the greatest creations in wrestling, man. Just his whole character and the streak, just Undertaker was amazing, man. You know in the MCU movies, in Avengers Infinity War, when Rocket was talking to Thor and Rocket was like, so dead brother, huh? Yeah, that can be annoying. And then Thor was like, well, he's been dead before, but I think this time it's for real or something like that. I think that's kind of me, how I'm feeling about Undertaker's career. You know, he's finally retired now from wrestling. How amazing is it that his career lasted from 1990 all the way to 2020? Undertaker, I love Undertaker so much. He's my 4th favorite wrestler ever, so of course. Trying to think. I don't know, man. My amazing mind isn't working as much as I'd like right now for this video. But the streak, and when he debuted, like, holy crap, you know. Anyway, my mind's not working as well as I want. I know there's some cool thing about Undertaker I want to say, but my mind can't find it right now. So let's go on to number 3. My 3rd favorite wrestler of all time is a wrestler who's on pretty much everyone's list, for great reason too. But number 3, Shawn Michaels. I won't lie. as the biggest John Cena fan ever, I get really annoyed. Well, I got, past tense-ish. Like, back in, 2011 when everyone's like, oh, Shawn Michaels is the greatest wrestler ever. I was extremely annoyed with that. I won't lie. I mean, I still love Shawn Michaels to death. But nowadays, I just can't help but see him as one of my most favorites. I still get annoyed by it, like a lot of people being like, oh my gosh, greatest ever. But man, I have so many amazing memories with Shawn Michaels. He was part of the 90s and the Ruthless Aggression era, which is just a whole, and he was even better in the Ruthless Aggression era. Just amazing, countless amazing matches, and I'll always love Shawn Michaels, and just nothing more to say about him that hasn't already been said. Just all the amazing memories, all the amazing stuff, and all that. But yeah, and now my second favorite wrestler of all time. Bret the Hitman Hart. Just oh my gosh, I remember when first off, I thought he was a tag team guy. Like when I first got SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, and I saw Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart as a tag team. I thought Bret Hart was a tag team guy, and he was, but man, he was just mountains higher, mountains bigger as a standalone guy, and he still had his tag team type of attire on, which is just alright. I'll live with that. I still love that. Bret Hart, man, they call him the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be, for a reason, man. Bret Hart, just his, by the time I started watching Bret Hart's matches, he had long retired from wrestling. And I watched his matches, and I was just blown away by Bret Hart. And I was like, oh my gosh, what an amazing, that's another statement, amazing, wrestler Bret Hart was. And honestly, Bret Hart is probably the most I've ever sympathized for a wrestler. The most I ever felt sympathy for a wrestler. Because, for real life stuff though, like the Montreal Screwjob, all the family members he's lost and all that, and makes me feel for him. There's too many reasons, and that I love him, But anyway, that being said, if you know me at all, you know who my favorite wrestler of all time is, and you did not need me to tell you. And forget the rest of this list, honestly. Number one, John Cena. Yep, John Cena is my favorite wrestler of all time. If you know me on my channel, you knew this decades ago, basically. But I could write a book on why I love John Cena so much. Like I said, forget the rest of this list. This is John Cena. It's not even close. It really isn't. I swear to God when I say that. It's not even close. I mean, I could write a book on why I love John Cena to death. He is my hero in life. He inspired me when I was feeling down to not quit. And just his insane charisma, his longevity. I still get crap from Cena haters for being a fan. But it just makes me love him even more. Alright, I'll always love John Cena. And, man, no one was happier and no one was more scared than me when, during my favorite match of all time, him against AJ Styles at the 2017 Royal Rumble. Alright, and, like I said, I've talked about it ad nausea, how much I love John Cena, and, yeah, I don't know what more to say, man, but, yeah, that's my list. Hope you loved it. I was extremely tired throughout this. The butterfly effect, man, no doubt. If I was more awake, this would have turned out slightly different. But you didn't need to know who my favorite wrestler ever was. You already knew that. Unless you're brand new to my channel. You'll see soon that I did. I'm Mark Sanders. This was Top Sunday. These are my 20 favorite wrestlers of all time. Like I said at the start, my list changes all the time. So who knows, maybe immediately after I press stop recording, I'll have a whole new list already. But number one's not going to change. Alright. Thank you all for watching. Have a blessed day, y'all.